Hey, gents, welcome back from summer here. I think we'll be going live with this around Labor Day or so. So everybody's wrapped up their summers. Yeah.
Oh yeah. One more quick summer trip to Nashville. I'm sure it's gonna be spicy hot there, but it's okay. I'll be eating spicy hot chicken and enjoy that.
What's your favorite Nashville hot chicken or Southern hot?
Nashville hot chicken. Yeah. So I've only really gone to one, so I don't really know because I can do medium heat. I can't do this insane triple hot spicy craziness that some people do. I don't want to punish myself. I just want good flavor. So just because it's right on the strip there, Hattie B's is what I've tried so far. But yeah, it's delicious.
Peter, have you been to Nashville?
Never been to Nashville, no.
Yeah, you should go. It's a lot of fun.
Good time.
Yeah. Cool. Dylan, that sounds fun. Peter, are you going anywhere? Got anything going on?
Just doing a few days in Scotland this week. So as soon as we wrap up this podcast, I'll be on the road, as I said to Dylan, towards the Arctic Circle. So even colder than the north of England. Yeah.
Should we tell our guests that we need to wrap up early so you can get on your way?
Exactly. I've got some haggis with my name on it, so it needs to.
I do love a haggis. Yeah.
What temperatures are we talking about right now where you are?
I think right now it's about 16, probably about 16, 17 Celsius. So Dylan will do the quick maths on that.
Yeah, let's check it out. Divide by 3. No, I'm just kidding. Oh yeah, actually that is 62, 63 degrees.
Yeah, it's probably about that. Maybe a little bit warmer, but not much difference. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a bit cool.
Hence the hoodie. What about Doug? What's your summer been like?
Just a little bit of travel here and there, mostly working. I officiated a wedding this summer, which was fun. So good friend, family friend. Longer story than we have time for, but I mannied for him. Mannied with an M. A long time ago, during college. He got married, so that was fun. I had my podcast voice on during the ceremony. Afterwards, at the reception, one of the bridesmaids comes up to me and says, "You have an amazing voice. You should do a podcast." I was like, "I have a podcast. You should listen to it." She's like, "What is it?" And I said, "Insurance." And she walked away.
Glazed look, and then walks away.
It's doing so well.
So I think we know that insurance, maybe outside at least of our circle, is, even if you have the greatest voice in the world, I think we could have Chris Hemsworth on, or whoever the hottest guy or girl is right now.
Oh, come on, you know who the hottest guy is. Don't act like you don't.
Is it Chris Hemsworth? Thor?
I gotta say he's got to be up there, but
just check that poster behind you, right? So
I'm just saying, I think we could have that person on, and we still would lose followers. So we're doing everything we can. We're doing God's work here for the insurance space, but there's only so much we can do, guys. So
love it.
No, it was a good summer. I'm glad that we're back in the saddle for the podcast. I think we got some good guests on, Peter. So I'm excited to have them on. Thanks for getting this together. So should we bring them on and have a chat?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, guys.
So here we are with another Age of the MGA show, this time with Nick Wright, Chief Development Officer of Pen Underwriting, one of the largest MGAs out of the UK. Nick, thanks very much for spending some time with us.
No worries, Peter. You persuaded me that I needed to join the pod, so I'm here to be entertaining and to entertain you, I think, for the next half an hour or so.
Sounds great.
Well, maybe 2 or 3 hours. We'll see how we get on here. Nick, before we really get into it, so we were doing a little backroom chatter here, and Nick, at some point you're gonna have to bring out your box of accents. American was really good, South African.
The Wichita accent.
Wichita was great. I'm excited because usually the three of us get a lot of hate mail, but I feel like now we're going to have somebody deflect this.
You'd have to join a very long queue, Doug. That's the problem. But no, believe me, my accents will stay suitably in my brain and nobody else's.
Too bad. we'll have to have you for a after-hours show and get a few drinks in you, and then we'll see if we get these accents out.
See what happens.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a good idea to me. Now that's a few beers and it might get going again. But there we go.
Not great for Pen Underwriting, but great for the views.
You do it on your way out. We've done an after-hours show, but it had to go to the vault because there was too much swearing. The audio was awful, and I'm pretty sure we offended like half of the businesses in Columbus, Ohio. So that one is now under wraps for private viewing only.
Yes.
Yeah.
You
So
can pay $10,000 to get access to it, though. Private access.
That's true. Yeah, we can get that out.
And it's a good value for money, Dylan. That is the key. It's a good value for money. My $10,000, would it be $10,000 well spent?
Yeah. Well, let's go 10,000 pounds first of all, so we can eke out a little more from you. And I think it's great. It's a lot of fun.
You'll definitely have a lot of blackmail material.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm sure a lot of people listening are well aware of Pen because they've been an incredible kind of success story in this space, right? But Nick, maybe for particularly anyone in the US who doesn't know about Pen, it'd be really interesting to hear a little bit about the origin story, how they are as a business today, and how you came into the organization.
Oh, blimey. Lots of questions.
Serious questions.
They were actually serious questions. I wasn't expecting that. So I thought we were going back to my Wichita accent. So yeah, Pen has been, I suppose, a really good success story over the last sort of 10 years. And it's quite good that we're chatting as we are now. We are just 10 years old. We're in our 10th year. I suppose it came about by a number of MJs, about 14 or 50 MJs that had been purchased by the wider Gallagher group over that period of time. And I think it was agreed that potentially we needed to bring them all together in one entity to benefit from scale, expertise, knowledge, and the products that we have, the offerings that we have. So over the last 10 years, and it's been a journey, some of it's been good fun, some of it's been hard work. I suppose most of it's been hard work, but it's been some good fun along the way. But we've got to £1 billion entity, GWB, gross written premium, I suppose in US, depending on what the dollar is today, and I haven't looked, but it's probably $1.3 billion of gross written premium. So we're a sizable MGA with sort of 20-25 product lines. We distribute product in the UK. Probably about 70% of what we do is in the UK. 30% emanates from overseas. So I suppose if you look at it as a business, 500 of us, we'd be the sort of 15th largest insurer if you looked at us in terms of GWP wise in the UK. So we're a scaled MGA. We've got a lot of things that we didn't used to have. So look, I could talk about Pen all day. And believe me, I hope for the next hour I'm going to talk, and I'm going to keep Doug and Dylan off the microphone, Peter. So if we just made it between the two of us, I think that would be really quite cool.
Very sensible approach.
We're more okay.
More intelligent.
Sorry, Doug, you dropped out.
No, I said more intelligent conversation with both of your accents than Dylan and I's. So
you're not going to let me forget these accents, are you?
No, Nick, and you've got to hear my voice so that you can emulate a Virginia accent, which is where I'm from. So.
Okay, I'll think about that. But towards the end, Dylan, I need to write down a little bit more and get to hear you a little bit more, and then I'll try that one. But look, so we've done well. There's more to do in every business, in every MGA. I think we've had a little bit of luck on the way. We've created a little bit of our own luck, but the market's been in our favour. But I think the next 10 years, the next 5 years could be really interesting in the MGA sector. I think there's some super opportunities, and I think there'll be some super challenges for us and some of our competitors who perhaps aren't quite so developed in their thinking, especially in the likes of risk and governance. But anyway, that's the boring stuff that you guys don't want to talk about. You want to go back to my accents. But so yeah, Peter, we've done well so far, I think.
You were just going to name drop some competitors that you think are doing worse than you. So do you want to throw that out?
Doug, I am far too professional to have a go at all of my competitors. But I think you're going to see the next look. People always ask me, why have MGAs been so successful over the last 5, 10 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever the timescale is. Generally speaking, we're all about creating solutions for customers. It doesn't matter. Any successful business, they listen to what a customer wants and they deliver for them consistently, they'll be successful. I think business is pretty simple. The advantage I think that the MGA market has had is we've had some fair wins. We've had rates that have been generally across the UK and actually globally have potentially been on the up. That enables an MGA to create a product, and if you can price it right, you can actually be quite successful without being uber clever. And the product doesn't have to be that innovative, because people want choice, and people want choice when their costs are going up. So the MGA marketplace has been a good place to be, and we've taken advantage of that. And as some of our competitors have, the key will be what happens over the next 18 months to 3 years as to when discipline, when the stuff that we focus on, claims, risk and governance, actuarial and pricing, the stuff that we do like a capital provider would do, that to me is going to be the interesting thing. So I'm not going to sit here and slag off our competitors. It's great that we've got competitors that keep us on our toes. I do think there's going to be some challenges for a number of our MGAs, a number of MGAs in the marketplace. That creates opportunity, by the way, as well as creating a problem.
So you said my favorite word, claims, first, in that list of things that keeps things tight. So I'm very excited to dive into that in a few minutes. But I'd love to find out if Pen's in a 10-year journey, where did you join Pen in that 10-year journey? Were you near the beginning, or are you just are you new to the company?
No, basically, because I'm so young, I've only been in the insurance industry for 10 years, Dylan. I deliberately have, this grey is my wife's a hairdresser, and this grey is just put in by her. No, so I joined Pen 10 years ago, ironically, to help, along with the management team, to sort of perhaps put Pen in a different place than where it had been. It was a great opportunity. I joined with a number of colleagues at the same time, and I think we've gelled and created a winning team. You know, look, I always think it's funny when people do these interviews, podcasts. It'd be great if you could talk to the 550 people that we employ rather than just talking to me. Every single person adds something. Some get applauded. Some people get to do this kind of stuff, which is, look, it's quite cool and quite fun. It's a little nerve-wracking, but it's quite cool and quite fun. But you know what? Every single person's contributed to what Pen's been like. So I joined 10 years ago. I've been in the industry not quite 40 years, but not far off. And yes, honestly, my wife does great with the grey, but she also might dye the thatch on the top as well. So look, so been here 10 years. I've been on that journey. I genuinely can say I've loved every minute of it. There will always be challenges, but yeah, so 10 years is the short answer to them.
So not to get off, I have a bunch of questions about the Gallagher model and what you've done with Pen, and I think maybe how that's being replicated or if it's being replicated. But actually, Nick, specific to you, because so our goal with this show, right, is to reach, you know, the brilliant underwriter, or distribution person, or actuary, even a claims person, if we need to have them along for the ride, I guess.
Even
if in, you know, at a Gallagher right now, at a Marsh, at wherever, and say, hey, you can do this, right? You can jump out and create an MGA. Here's a roadmap, or here's the right people to talk to. So for you, like, other than, you know, finishing university studies 10 years ago, what were you doing before this, and how did you like decide, like, hey, I'm gonna do this thing, which is more entrepreneurial in nature and probably out of the risk zone for, you know, 99% of people in insurance right now? Like, I'd love to hear that evolution for you. Yeah.
So how do I answer that? So my first job in insurance was when I was 15. Right, I was offered a Saturday job, a summer job. Started a Saturday job, then into a summer job, and I literally worked in the filing department. And I actually was employed by Eagle Star Insurance, who you guys probably haven't heard of in the US, but they were a big insurer based at 1 Needle Street in London, and they were consolidating all their local offices, and they needed somebody literally to get a load of paper files and to put them into the new filing system in a branch office of Wolverhampton, which is a city in the UK. And that's how I started. And then I worked for insurers. They offered me a job because I was quite enthusiastic, and I sort of seemed to know what I was doing. I'm relatively blessed with a brain that seems to work and a mouth that seems to operate too. And so I started with Eagle Star. I moved to a company called General Accident, and I went through the I suppose, that do the jobs. I'm a property and casualty underwriter by training and by trade. That's my bag. And then I suppose I wanted to work with different companies, are innovative, forward thinking. I am massively into the customer. And Dylan, I know we're going to go back to claims, but I don't want to disagree with one of your previous podcasters when they talked about stuff. But claims is what we are here to do, to deal with. Insurance is pretty simple, right? Is that somebody is transferring their risk from themselves to something else. And an MGA can be part of that solution. And an MGA can be a really good part of that solution because they tend to be forward thinking, bit innovative, possibly don't have to go through the same rigmaroles that an insurer potentially would. And I suppose for me, from an MGA point of view, is why restrict myself to one person's underwriting appetite when I can have 50? We have strategic partners, as you can imagine, as other MGAs will do in the marketplace. But I've got 50 people's underwriting appetite I can work with. So if I want to go and do anaerobic digestion, if I want to go and do business interruption for public sector bodies or for universities or just different stuff, cyber, whatever it might be, I can actually go and explore 50 people to have that conversation with, or 300 people if I go outside of our strategic partners. But so I decided probably 20 years ago to join an innovative insurance company, and that took me on the journey into the MGA space. And I don't see a lot of difference from working for an insurance company to working in an MGA, other than there's potentially a few less layers, a bit less hierarchy for us to be able to make quick, informed decisions and honestly create solutions for customers. I'm a very simple bloke. If the customer's happy, do you know what? They'll renew with you. If they're unhappy, they'll go and look for an alternative. They might not be able to find one, but you give them an excuse to walk out the door. And we celebrate new business. One thing I always say to people is, can we celebrate the people who've stayed with us and have showed loyalty? We never, ever celebrate that, because the new business guy won, I don't know, Tesco's, Walmart, whatever it might be. We celebrate that. But we've looked after Macy's for the last 30 years. That's been the foundation of generating the revenue for me to be able to employ those salespeople. So look, so that's a long story, but I think the MJ space is really exciting.
So it sounds like you have quite a bit of autonomy then, to at Penn, right, from Gallagher, which kind of leads into something else I was thinking about. So you built this model in the UK. I'm sure Gallagher has other program business throughout the world. Like, are they kind of looking to you and the success you've had at Penn and trying to replicate that in other parts of the world?
God, great question. I'm not sure how we answer that politically correctly these days. So I think we all learn from each other. Gallagher is honestly is a great place to work. I think from the very top, from Pat down to all of the organisation, they absolutely believe in something called the Gallagher way. You guys will have been through that, and it just gives it a culture of us all helping each other. So what I mean, this is a long way of saying, partly yes, partly we will work with our colleagues in Australia. So we have Pen Underwriting in Australia, and we will work with them and provide them product for them to be able to sell to their distributors, their brokers. We work with Excess Underwriting in Canada. We will look to work with them more to find out how could we create solutions that we've perhaps got in the UK that would benefit customers in Canada. We work with RPS in the US, so we will create product together and distribute our product via their network. So yeah, we work collaboratively, but I think you can do that by still being your own separate entity, and if you like, have your own culture within the culture. The UK market is very, very different than the US market. It's different than the Canadian market. We benefit from being part of a bigger group, and we benefit from having the autonomy as an underwriting business run by underwriters that is very different than a broker business. My fiduciary duty is to my capital. The retail is their fiduciary duty is always to the customer. And I think if you get two businesses knowing what their role is in the food chain, as I'll call it, do you know what? I think that's a great thing to have.
Yeah, very cool. All right, one more question, and I'll let Dylan get to claim stuff because I know he's itching to talk about that. When you guys are thinking about growing,
you can get cream for Dylan. You can get cream for it. Don't worry.
I don't want it.
When you're thinking about growing, are you incubating MGAs? Are you acquiring MGAs? Like, how does that work with your group? I'm sure you're doing both, but like, are you guys just out looking for underserved sectors, and that's kind of how you identify it? Or yeah, I'm just like curious to the extent you can share like how that growth is working for you.
Yeah, I think there's no secret. I think we look to grow any way we can that is in line with our business model. So what I won't do, I don't think what we want to do is cannibalize ourselves. It would be very easy to go and buy things that ultimately just cannibalize what we do and how we do it. I don't think that's what we're about. So if you take products, so to answer the question, yes, we would like to buy things. Yes, we would like to invest in people and brains that can bring expertise to us. Yes, we would like to look at distribution and innovation. So technology, I think, has a part to play in that. And yes, we'd like to grow organically with our existing offer. Why, if I've got a market leading offer, do I think it's a market leading offer? Because nobody else is at that level at the moment. Kodak, I always use Kodak. I'm a very simple bloke, right? Kodak thought they had the best solution for memories and taking a history of the world, because we've got a camera that you then have to process and get it sent off, and then it comes back. Somebody invented digital cameras, right? Somebody invented the digital. And I think the CEO of Kodak once said, yeah, it's a nice gimmick, but it'll never catch on. I'm actually a relatively keen photographer. I now use my iPhone if I'm allowed to plug iPhones. Does that mean, does this go like to millions of people, and therefore iPhone are now going to phone me?
You're going to get a free iPhone sent to you from Apple because of this show, I'm pretty sure.
We keep turning them down for official sponsorship, don't we? They keep knocking at the door. Yeah. We keep saying we're not sure. We don't want to commit anytime soon.
We don't take sponsors. We don't want any overlords. But we'll take your free.
Okay. Just for clarity, Mr. Apple, if you're listening, I am easily bribable with a new iPhone, so don't worry. So people now use iPhones rather than using traditional cameras and then digital cameras. As I said, I go and spend some money on some decent photography equipment. What do I end up using to take videos and pictures? I use my iPhone. We as a society, we as an industry, we need to get on with the journey of things change. And in the UK, we have Lloyd's of London that's been around for hundreds of years, and we have insurers that have been around for hundreds of years. And they're still going to be around. They might look a bit different than they did, and they might look a bit different than they do, because we've all got to adapt. And I think we've been a little slow in adapting to change. But anyway, so that was a long answer to a short question, I think.
Insurance is known for fast innovation. I don't know things in the UK, but no, I kid.
Well, if that were the case, Doug, I would then equate the MGA space with the digital camera, right? I do think that's an evolution in insurance. So we are at least when we're on the MGA side, not that it's opposing forces necessarily, but when creating an MGA, when working for an MGA, you're definitely on the side of innovation. Nick, you brought up earlier a couple of things. One, that maybe you're eliminating a few layers of bureaucracy, right? That red tape that goes along with full stack insurer. Being a publicly traded entity potentially also can affect that, right? A lot of full stack carriers, at least in the US, are publicly traded, and that also affects how they can how quickly they can change, innovate. And so having some level of freedom, being a little bit more nimble, right? Not just because you're smaller, right? Of course, smaller companies can be nimble, but only in certain ways, right? I think that's true for technology. But if you're really small, you also don't necessarily have the capital to do all of the big changes that you want. Sounds like Pen is kind of in that sweet spot, right? You're big enough, you have enough capital to make major changes, but and that includes even potentially acquiring other companies, right? Saying, hey, this is the direction we want to go. We can get into it faster by acquiring this company and moving in this direction, whether that's footprint geographically or whether that's a line of business. So I think honestly that was a great analogy from Nick. We are definitely the digital camera, and really, I guess the question is, are we going to be the iPhone, right? Or are we going to be the DSLR camera, which again, also is still now way behind the iPhone, because I think that's what happened, right? Those came out. We don't have film, but we're now rocking our Nikon. It's still this big, and it doesn't fit in our pocket. And it's another thing we need to bring on a trip. And everyone was going that direction, and then iPhone came out, and just smartphones in general, right? And then everything went to, now it's in my pocket. Now I don't have to bring another thing. Now I don't have to pack that extra luggage, and it's always with me. And oh my God, something amazing's happening. Look at the sunset. Let me pull out my camera. It's always in my pocket. So I guess that's the question.
Dylan, if you really want to finish the analogy and butter up our guests, what we need to say is MGAs are the digital cameras. Pen is the iPhone.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
well,
Doug, you can get a discount off your policy now, Doug. Not that we write business over there, but we could get a discount off your policy because
I'll come over to the
Doug
UK.
is uninsurable. You will never write his business.
What makes me laugh is that I have no idea who Nikon are, but I know who Nikon is. But it's funny, we talked about accents earlier. But no, to be fair, because I'm sponsored by Sony, but you're absolutely right about what you just said in terms of having your digital camera with you. You go on, you think, I'll take some beautiful pictures, I'll take my camera bag, I'll take this with it, and then you go, oh, but it's really quick, so I'll take a quick snap on my iPhone. And when you look at the quality, there is very, very little, unless it's a very, very, unless it's either a very big scene or unless it's a very, very zoomed in massively, there is not a lot of difference. But look, insurance is very different than taking pictures. Insurance is very different than making calls or sending WhatsApp message or DMs. It's a service at the end of the day that's provided for customers, and ultimately, predominantly, it's around indemnity. People have had a loss, and therefore we want to put them back in the same place they were before. How they access it, I think, potentially will be how we have to challenge ourselves as an industry. And to take the point as MGAs could be at the forefront of that and going, how is a customer going to access their information? I'm not sure what it's like in the US these days, genuinely, but not many people rock into their banks anymore. They'll go to an app and they'll move money around. And if I want to send you money, I mean, you're obviously going to pay me for being on the podcast today, which I'll look forward to my bank account pinging in the background. That's how things happen, right? So that's how we have to think about, how do we digitally pay claims? How do we digitally assess claims? How do we documentation, how's it stored? How do we keep people informed about what's going on with their loss or with their policy? And that's a little bit of, I think, where we are a bit behind, Pen are a bit behind. I think the industry is a bit behind. And there is an opportunity for people to come in potentially and steal a march.
There's an opportunity, but I think you can go too far in that as well. And we saw that happen, right, with at least in the US. I know the landscape, the brokerage landscape is different in the UK, but in the US, at least from a commercial aspect, people like their brokers. They want somebody risk advisor, and I think of them as risk advisors now, not just as placement agents, right? You're helping somebody understand more and more complex policies. I think the pro and the con of all the MGAs popping up is they're niching down in risk, right? They're hitting very segmented parts of the economy and even like subparts of the economy. But now these policies are much more complex, and they cover certain things and they don't cover other things, and trying to figure out the price and what value you're actually getting out of this. I think that's where broker can provide a ton of value. But to your point, like, how do you digitize the things that, like, I want this information immediately as a policyholder, but when a claim takes place, now I want you walking me through. I want a human, right? I want to talk to my claims person or my agent, whomever. I don't want a voice bot. I want somebody holding my hand right now. And I think we're still figuring that out, right? As humans overall, like how much technology do we want in our lives, and when do we want to access it and have it be a part of that? So it's not just an insurance problem, but I do think these are things we're struggling with, and we can take it too far though. And when we do, that's where we might start losing customers as well. And they're like, no, I'd rather have somebody holding my hand right now, a human, not a Tesla bot.
No, and I 100% agree. Look, so we don't hide the fact that our ultimate pen is Gallagher, but Gallagher predominantly is a retail broker. they're a customer of ours, right? We have lots of customers. They're one of them, and they do a great job for customers. I think there is somewhere in the future, which is what is the role of a distributor? It's to give advice and to walk people through problems. I think if we lose sight of what the role is of all of us in the food chain, then I think that's where it gets a bit confusing. So if a broker doesn't give advice, doesn't actually tell them that these are the exclusions from a policy, this is how I can help you navigate this difficult claim, this is how I can help with I'm a P&C man, so but a casualty loss or a property loss or a business interruption loss, if they don't help the customer through that, then there will be more questions around what is the value. And I 100% agree that we live in a complicated world. I don't think insurance has got more complicated. I think it's, well, UK based specifically, we meet all of our policy wordings are plain English, if that's an appropriate terminology these days. So we now make it easier for people to understand what's covered, what's not covered. The regulator over here, I nearly said something, but I stopped myself, can be intrusive at times. Can be intrusive, but you know what? Fundamentally, what they're trying to do is good for the customer. Look, guys, you don't cover these 5 things. Why do you hide that on page 76 of a Word document that nobody reads? Yeah. Actually, stick it at the front. You bought a policy that covers you for these 74 things, but actually at the front you say, but the 5 things we won't cover you for, whether it's wear and tear on the household policy or gates and hedges that we have in the UK. I don't think you have them in the US because you've all got that much land, because land is for free in the US, that you don't have gates and hedges, but we do in the UK, and in the main, they're not covered under a policy. So bring it to the front, make it easy, and I think that's exactly what we should do. I am a bit of a fan of parametrics. Pen doesn't do a lot of parametric insurance, but I love it. It's a trigger. If the water goes above this high, at this moment, at any time, we give you money. That's a pretty simple contract for an insured. And I do think we could learn some lessons from new thinkers as to how we structure product, be that in insurance or any other service industry, to be fair. And I think it's coming, and the regulator's going to help us do that. We just need to go with them rather than to fully understand what we all do, whether that's the broker, an MGA, the insurer, a reinsurer, the capital that provides to the reinsurer, all that stuff. We all have a part to play. I think sometimes we don't articulate it awfully well as to what role we do play and what we don't do.
I think you don't have to hide from saying what you think about regulators here. None listen to the show. There's only 4 people, and so there's just none. You can say exactly what you want, but no. One thing I'm going to push back actually on one thing you said really quickly. So in the U.S., right? So not the UK, but in the U.S., I think insurance has become more complicated over the last 10, 15 years. I think there are more manuscript policies, and they're not plain English. They are big, nasty policies with a huge number of conditions, and specifically E&S, the excess and surplus lines world, it has definitely gotten more complicated. We have more exclusions, more conditions, more sublimits than we've ever had before as we niche down and in the E&S space. And because of the regulation or the lack of regulation in the E&S market, not saying they're unregulated, but they're certainly, they have no issues with the fact that this secondary, this market that is just required to exist so that businesses can actually survive. They have to have insurance to exist. So we're getting them the insurance they need, but the policies are massive. They are massive, 70, 80 page policies that are, and you go through an insuring agreement, and then you come down here and we're saying, okay, well, now that's excluded. Now it's given back over here on this page. And then even further down, it's sublimited, for this weird niche thing that could happen. It's extra complicated. It's not, we've definitely gone the wrong direction with that. I agree that plain English policies, I think, are a fantastic idea. I don't want to hide anything from a claims perspective. I would much rather have and just to be clear, from being in the E&S world, I have personally written 20+ page declination letters, right? That's crazy. And the reason that it's 20 something pages is because I'm pulling out pieces of the policy and all the policy pieces that apply to that loss. And the fact that it's going to take 20 pages of policy language to be put in there, and then my commentary on those and how they apply to the loss seems like a real challenge. And so I would love to see us move. First of all, I agree with parametric. I love the simplicity of it, but it doesn't apply to every type of loss. So it's not practical for everything. But I do love any way that we can ensure things more simply, and we make the claims process smoother, more transparent, much quicker. And then a lot of what we're talking about there is first party claims. Obviously, third party is the same thing. Plenty of those declinations were third party, liability policies, right? That are again massive. And now this person or this entity doesn't know that if they are covered or not, and they have essentially two battles at once. They have the third party who's coming after them for their damages, and then they've got a declaratory judgment action on the other side in the U.S. So they have their own lawsuit. Because the U.S. requires this, you're essentially suing your own insured with this declaratory judgment action to make sure that they are to determine what is covered and what is not covered. You're saying to the courts, I need you to determine this because it's so complicated. Now there's a two-front battle, and I feel terrible for the insureds in those cases. And I'm not saying that should never happen, because there's going to be something that's so weird that it just was not. No one thought about it happening when they were writing this policy, or when the policy language was actually being written, and that's okay. That's fine in the odd case, but it shouldn't be a regular part of claims handling in the U.S. So it is way too complicated.
I'd love to hear from Nick on that, but my 2 cents really quickly is probably somewhere in the middle of what you both described, because for me, particularly in the E&S space, and I think for a lot of MGAs, Nick, as well, you're being quite entrepreneurial with risk creation. And I say that you're almost solving problems that didn't exist 25 years, 30 years ago for customers. And cyber is a great example of that. Intellectual property insurance. I worked in lines that evolved as we went, right? In crisis management, we had the phenomenon of marine piracy that came kind of from nowhere. So I think it's difficult as well when the landscape of risk is so moving and so nuanced to try and get a world where your wording is perfect. And that's one of the challenges I see with innovative MGAs is it's not as black and white as, like you described, Nick, a parametric risk where if it rains for X amount of millimeters, then the loss is covered. Your nuance of risk is quite delicate at times.
It is, but and this is without my pen hat on. This is with Nick Wright's hat on as a customer, which is, why does it have to be thus, right? So to Dylan's statement he just made around all of the different, I am not a US insurance expert, guys, which is why it's funny having an Englishman on here who cannot do an accent of an American to save his life, by the way.
You did a great one earlier. I can't wait to hear it on the show. Yeah.
We can do Dylan when the recording's finished. I think the point is that we shouldn't have to accept mediocrity. It's been a frustration of mine in the insurance industry, full stop. We accept mediocrity. Potentially we accept people who are adjusting losses, not 100% knowing what's going on or what's happened. I started a business called General Accident. I started Eagle Star, I moved to General Accident. The lady who wrote motor fleet insurance, sort of trucks in the US, I came from a haulage background. My family are hauliers. So I obviously have been around lorries all of my life. I've been around plant vehicles all of my life. The lady who was in charge of actually underwriting what effectively were wagons, lorries, had never seen a lorry, she'd seen one, but only from afar, never been in one, never driven one, never realized what a six-wheeler was compared to a four-wheeler was, what a Pantechnicon was, that the fact that our breakdown truck in the UK would do 40 miles an hour flat out, but it could tow 80 tons behind it because that's what it's designed to do. So, so that knowledge of what a customer wants, the knowledge of what the product should be, I love to challenge, because I don't come from the traditional insurance background that says, actually, here's my fire wording, here's my flood peril, here's my AD peril, here's my whatever it might be. And by the way, there's your policy wording. And when I started, we had rating books that were this big, that actually would give you your peril rate per trade, literally down to 0.01p in a big book form. So I think we should challenge, and as brokers, whether it's Marsh, Gallagher, Aon, Howdens, Brown and Brown, all of which are customers of ours and big customers of ours, we should challenge ourselves to go, how do we create a better solution for the customer than you've just talked about? Now, it might not be possible, and I guess there's somebody out there trying to do it, because if we don't do it, somebody else will do it to us. That's my problem with the industry, is that we go, well, it's been the same way since the Lloyds we all got together and we all said, oh, it's terrible, these ships are going around the world and one of them sinking everything, and it's all bunging a few quid. And when obviously a ship losses, then we all ring the bell and we all indemnify the person who had the ship. The world's changed on, data is massive. So, I look at it and I get frustrated that we still have wordings that are this big in paper format or in PDF, when actually it could be this big, and actually on your laptop, and utilizing both the brains of people and the brains of computers, we could probably give a very good summary to an insured that said, guys, just to let you know, it's quite complicated because of the program you have, and this would be our summary, and this is what's not covered. We've understood your risk as a customer, and we have created what we think is the best solution. And as intermediaries, as people who distribute our products and other products, they need to have that commitment in themselves to say, I'm recommending, Dylan Brand MGA to write your risk because of the five things, not because it's 15% cheaper than what we thought was the same cover from the previous year. So I think that quality of intermediary, the quality of distributor, is hugely important. As I said, we work with 1,650 brokers, right, of which 1,400 in the UK, 250 are in Europe, around the world. And they will all hopefully have the expertise and ability to be able to give customers that advice. So my wish, if I had one, for people who ever listen to this podcast, even if it is my wife and my mother and potentially my brother, but that might take bribery, is the fact that we simplify insurance, and actually overcomplicating it, terms and conditions precedent, warranties. Those are things that we dealt with 30, 40 years ago when I first joined this industry. It's becoming less and less and less in the UK. And I think if we could take one thing potentially to the US, to the rest of the world, maybe this sounds wrong, but simplifying it would be one of the things, because most customers don't walk in the morning and go, tell you what I want to do, I'll spend some more money on insurance. Yeah, that's going to give me great satisfaction. But believe me, and I've spoken to people who've had $30, $40 million losses, and believe me, they're very grateful that I'm on the end of the phone to go, it's okay, don't worry, I know it's your family firm that you've, for the custodian of for the last 20 years, but you've insured it via a decent broker, it's got decent wording, you've paid a decent premium, you're going to get a decent claim service. We will indemnify you and put you back in the position you were before the loss, to wriggle out of stuff, and we'll all have claims that we will have declined over the years. So I'm not sitting here holier than thou, but as an industry, we should be embarrassed if genuinely clients have a lack of understanding of what they're covered and not covered for. Yeah. I am passionate about the customer, if nothing else, and I think that our intermediaries around the world, we almost all need to have the same culture, customer first, because if we do that, do you know what? You'll get more and more and more business, and having value in distribution is really important. I'm not here saying everything's got to be distributed, because they have to have value. To take your point, if it's complicated, blah, 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 then somebody should explain that to the client before the loss, not after the loss. So Dylan, your 20-page declinature letter, it's just disappointing for you to have to write. It should be a delighted to play your claim, or unfortunately, these were the 3 things we asked you to do, and you didn't do any of them.
Correct. Yeah, and so we got to differentiate between a situation where the simplicity is the thing that I would like to get out of everything that you're saying. I completely agree with that, and that comes down to the actual policy language. On the other side of disclaiming claims, that should happen, right? There are people who make claims regularly on a policy that has no intention of paying that type of loss, right? That situation. And the thing that is the problem is that education, which you also brought up. You've got there's no shame or no problem in disclaiming a claim. It is the fact that they didn't know that claim was not covered by this. And of course, everyone's trying to CYA, right? They're trying to make sure that they're taking care of their company. They have a duty to make a claim to essentially all their policies. When in doubt, send it to every policy that they have, and the broker knows that it's not covered. The insurer hopefully knows that it's not covered because the broker should have told them that, or they're a company that's sophisticated enough to already have their own risk management team and should already know that. So they're gonna be in the States that's going to happen all the time. They're just going to shotgun approach and send it to all their policies, all their carriers, to try to get this thing covered, even if they know it's not. But they should always know before they file that claim whether it's covered, and that is something that we should really improve on.
No, I agree, and I think if I may just rudely interrupt you, but I think when we look at
it's our show, so just be careful there. Just be careful.
Okay, I'll just sit here now. You ask the questions, I'll sit here and say
no.
But I think it's about what is the purpose of a policy. I think a purpose of advice is the fact that brokers, intermediaries, risk consultants, I think we need to talk about what the risks an insured wants to buy is. So risk management, whatever you want to call it in the US, is if we prevent losses happening, that's even better. So I think to say, look, if we can prevent this happening, you won't need to make a claim. But if you do make a claim, this is what's covered, this is what's not covered. Good risk management, be that physical risk management, moral risk management, is really, really important. And I think that we forget that as an industry too, around nobody sets out, there are very few customers who set out to have a loss, because however we try, there will be an interruption to the business, or there will be something the insurer doesn't 100% get back. We'll try and we'll do our best, but there will be an inconvenience.
Yes.
So the majority of customers, we should set out to try and indemnify them if they've paid the appropriate premium for the covers they thought they'd bought and had been told they'd bought. And I think that's a big thing. And again, I go back to, in the UK, potentially, the increasing governance of our distributors. There is a tremendous amount of focus on us ensuring that our distributors, whether it's a Pen product, a Dual product, the Viva product, whoever it is, that they understand that product and give the right advice to customers. And that will stop, the industry, which I'm proud to be part of, the industry getting a bad name. Because that's the other thing, insurance, as I said, nobody runs out in the morning and says, I've got to go and spend some more cents or dollars on another insurance product. What they walk out and say is, I'd like another holiday, or I'd like something else. That's a they want to spend their money on. But there we go. Right, I'm definitely going to shut up now, Doug, because I know you're going to definitely tell me off in a minute.
No. I agree with all of that. I mean, we've been dancing around this concept of paying less for insurance, but again, I come back to having risk advisors, somebody helping you walk through what this policy actually covers. And great, I'm paying 20% less, but have I lost all the coverage that I actually need at that point? And I think that's, Dylan, to your point, when things aren't covered, you think they are, insurance gets a bad name because of that. If you go out and look at what people think of insurance, like on Twitter or LinkedIn, it's not pretty, right? And it's usually somebody got screwed over, or they think they got screwed over, but maybe they had bad risk advice. They shouldn't have been in that policy anyway. And back to the consumer, maybe they should have been willing to pay more. So there's a lot of blame to go around, I think. But Nick, I love the approach. One of, we are in the business of indemnifying. I firmly believe the world cannot exist without insurance. Like the progress we've made, like I love insurance because of that. The progress we're able to do, the risks we're able to take as businesses, as humans, impossible without insurance. And that's what we need to get to, is helping people understand that. Your mindset is one that I'm fully on board with. So yeah, excited to hear that.
I've got to be quiet now. I've written down I need to be quiet until
No.
The whole time, I will say, in my mind, whenever you guys were saying plain language, plain English of the policy, I just wondered which British accent you were putting that in. Like, is it indecipherable or not? Yeah.
Are you actually insinuating I've got an accent, Doug? Because clearly this is how every English. This is
maybe too far north or in Wales. I wasn't sure.
So
if it was plain English, it wouldn't be in Wales, because that would be plain Welsh. But anyway, not wishing to be semantic with you. But look,
so is it gonna be a plain Cockney English policy? Is that what we're saying?
don't the US say Cockney? Don't you actually? Because you don't say Cockney. Isn't it Cockney when you do US? Normally when I visit, are you from the Cockney?
Cockatoo? Is that what it is? You crazy birds.
This conversation is going definitely downhill. But
it is.
But going back to, you talked about claims earlier, and I think I when I looked at one of your or listened and watched one of your previous podcasts, I think you were talking about what an MJ has to be successful, why they have to be successful. And you've talked about claims, and we've danced around our handbags a little bit about claims, but I think it is having claims in-house and being able to talk to customers about how we do things, or having a really good TPA you work really closely with, but you're aligned culturally. I think one of your previous attendees, should I call them, guests is what you call them, I think what they said was, this is to be a successful MJ. For me, I think it's sustainable loss ratios, right? We have to take capital and we have to do some good with it, which is why I want to talk about, which is why I talked about risk management. It says, okay, we're going to take some capital, we're going to put it at risk, but what we're going to do is help manage that for you. So what we'll do is try and reduce those losses if we can. You mentioned cyber earlier. If we do, we can stop people putting in their passwords into the wrong email address, or we can stop people logging on from their computer at home that actually means that they get a virus, which then accesses the whole of one of our clients. That to me is a brilliant thing to do. But let's just say if they do that wrong, then we have to ensure that our claims team step in and actually do what is needed to get the client up and running again. But for us as MJs, the one thing we can't do is have unsustainable loss ratios. So yes, we can all have peaks and troughs, but if an MJ thinks what they're going to do is come into the market now, it's a great idea, people are going to walk away from whichever the companies you mentioned earlier, Doug, and I'd say it's going to be dead easy because I'm going to get some naive capital, I'm going to do it on the back of a fag packet with a bit of paper. I think those days have gone, if I'm honest. I think that's what did happen and has still happened in the past. But I think if you're a scaled business, or a business that's going to have a reputation for a medium long term, I think you need to be able to produce capital returns, as well as adding distribution, as well as adding your own processes, as well as adding actuarial and pricing, all that stuff that people like us do. I think people have got to be very, very mindful as new MGAs that it's been relatively easy, if I can use that word, over the last few years, because the rates have been in a place where even me, who was a poor P&C underwriter, perhaps even I could have broken even. So I think we need to recognise that there's a little bit of pain to come over the next period of time as globally rates come off slightly. And I know the group, probably has a view on that, but definitely in the UK, we're seeing, property, casualty coming off substantially. And we need to recognise that if people don't have 10, 15% in loss ratios, then obviously losses go up, premium stays the same, return on capital to investors is not what it needs to be, and that just leads to an inevitability. The key is just making sure we're in the right place with the right products at the right time. And that is a bit of luck before anybody says anything. It's a bit of science, but I bet it'd be a lucky underwriter than a good one. I was neither, by the way, but it is better to be lucky than good, I always.
Well, Nick, I think there's going to be a great culling soon because of what you just described, right? I think there's plenty of there's plenty of everything from AI companies to MGAs that are going to get wiped out from things getting harder.
Yeah, Dylan, let's call it what Nick, you said naive money. I call it dumb money, aka VC money, has now gone over to AI, and they're burning their cash over there, and that'll come to reckon soon. I think it's a good thing that we've kind of getting rid of a lot of that in the MGA space. So good riddance. But yeah, I think there will be a calling for sure. But I think we're closer to that. Companies like yours, Nick, will be the beneficiary of that. Not trying to beat on price all the time, right? Offering that high service. Again, the way you put it, like, I'm here to pay your claim, right? That's at the end of the day, that's what I want to do. And if everybody's acting fair and in good faith, that's what we are going to do. That's the mantra of an insurance company. So I love it. Peter, I think Nick might have jumped the gun on your legacy question with some of the answers that he gave, but I do think we should back towards that.
We should come to that. I have one more question before we get to that as well. So Nick, you mentioned that 1.4 USD billion premium for Pen, which is amazing in 10 years. And that is made up of a team of 500 people. That I was kind of reflecting on that as you said it. I think that's really, really impressive. And we speak to a lot of earlier stage MGAs who are going through building teams and where they put resource and the like. How does that 500 people, how is that made up in your organization? Where are people dedicated? And do you see that growing in the near future? What's the plan with that?
God, there's about 14 different, God, I'm talking to myself. There's about 14 different questions in there, I think. Look, so it's ironic, and I wanted to come back to Dylan. So the 50% of our staff are either underwriters or connected to underwriting, right? They actually do the front end underwriting. We don't have many people not underwriting product. Now, okay, that's at varying levels, but about half of the team that we have all underwrite product. So they're engaging with brokers, creating solutions, or whatever you want to call them, right? They're actually doing the underwriting. The next biggest team is claims. We have 100 headcount dealing with claims. We have 11 full-time salespeople. When you look at that, you go, bloody hell. Well, I do anyway, although I'm not allowed to swear off. I'm just going to get told off again by Doug and Dylan and Peter. For the people listening to this podcast,
you are allowed to swear on this podcast. It's fine.
Oh,
explicit offering here. Yeah.
Okay. So the key is, so we're the majority of people in underwriting. We have a fairly big risk and governance team, but again, it's underwriting and claims. Those are the two things that our business is built on. Why? Because that's what we do. Because it goes early. You get the DNA of the business. The DNA of the business is to bring some stuff in, do a little bit edgy underwriting, have a look around the edge of the dartboard, and say, hey, we are not going to compete on standard SME commercial combined business because you know what, our model doesn't work. Where can we find the outside of the dartboard that, you know what, it's not well served? We have a vision to double the size again, right? So we're trying to go from $1 billion to 1.7 billion to 2.5 billion, over the next 5, 10, 15 years, but we'll only do that on sustainability. There may become a point you go, do you know what, with the DNA that we have, the culture that we have, maybe there's not another business out there for us to buy. We're not there yet. Certainly got a few targets I'd love to bring into the business and go, there's a bunch of people over here, there's a product over there, there's a way of distributing product over here that I'd love to have in us. That will make us bigger, better, more attractive, retain more customers, but get new customers coming in. So I think that probably will increase the number of people that we have. What do they do? I don't quite know yet. I think that AI has a part to play in our future, but it's a bit like InsurTech, and this is where you're probably all now going to stop recording. It's a word I really do not like, InsurTech. When I first started in insurance, joking aside, in 1986, which was a long, long time ago, we had a computer. It was called technology, and it was insurance. So why wasn't that insurtech, right? We seem to have this new word of insurtech, which is cobblers in my, that's an English word. It's very cobblers. It's just technology and insurance. So why it has to be insurtech, I've no idea. It's just technology and insurance working together to create a solution, hopefully a better solution for our distributors and our customers. I think there's loads we can do. You know, I'm a massive fan of low code, no code, right? I think to knock up products, to get stuff out to customers, we could grab some stuff and think, do you know what? It's a bit underserved in the flood space over here. Could we create a product with decent capital and decent modeling to create a solution for homeowners over here? Don't talk to me about Florida because this is when the podcast will definitely get, you know.
We're not going to stop recording now. We're not going to stop recording until we get to Florida. But go ahead.
But I think the point is, look, it's technology and insurance has been around for many, many years. I think what I would say is there's a huge amount of data that we didn't have access to before. And I think this is going to sound really bad. He who owns data probably is going to be king or queen. And he who either owns it, can access it, or can control it. I think it has got a huge future in the MGA space. So if I was encouraging anybody to leave the businesses that Doug mentioned earlier, because obviously I wouldn't do that, because clearly I wouldn't want anybody else to leave their business and join Pen Underwriting, and it's Nick_Wright at penunderwriting.com if you want to contact me. But I wouldn't encourage that. But if they wanted to, I'd be happy to have a conversation. I think the point is they've got to have data. Sorry?
You get employee referral? Is that what you're going after right now?
I think the people want a different career move, right? I think it's exciting to be in a business that's got a decent foundation, but it isn't the finished article. Pen is not finished, right? And I always forget Pen. There are a number of businesses out there that aren't finished. And I think it's an exciting journey to be on, be that with us or with one of my competitors. Of course, I'd like them to join me, but if they want to go and join a competitor, just do it. I believe, I think my daughter, who is both beautiful and challenging me at the same time, and by the way, they're quite old, she said to me, you know, regret the things you did, don't regret the things you didn't do. Right? So give it a go. Don't be stupid. Choose your partner wisely, but give things a go. Obviously, she says that to me when she's going out to a nightclub at like 3 o'clock in the morning, obviously.
And Nick, she's actually screaming YOLO when she does it.
No. Is that quite trendy? YOLO.
It's been around for a while, but
okay.
I'm an old man, not as old as you. I mean, your grandpa definitely came out when you started bashing InsurTech. You're like, those damn kids. But you know, it's okay.
I think it's when people say things are sick, and I just looked at them many years ago and think I have no idea what you're saying. You're not very well,
and then COVID happened, and you're like, oh, I get it now. Everything.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, that's we can't joke about COVID, but maybe I'm bringing it down a level. Maybe I'm trying to be professional, which is obviously I shouldn't be on this podcast. I repeat what I said right at the very beginning. If a customer wants to buy product for you, you're doing. If the product comes back and buys again, then do you know what? You've got a bloody good offering that you need to take advantage of and sell them some more stuff. So when people talk to me about selling, it's sell to customers who buy from you already. We are so, as an industry, we seem to be so frightened of selling. And I don't think selling's a bad. Selling is not a dirty word. The one thing I do genuinely think we could take in the US is that you have salespeople and they are motivated to sell. If it's sold in the right way, with the right customer, understanding their needs and wants and satisfying them, I think that's a bloody good recipe. And I think that we should implore that and applaud that. I think the more we can take a customer who buys one thing and sell them something else, what's the problem with that? I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. Also thought it was quite funny, Nick, how you said, you know, Pen Underwriting is a business that isn't finished yet when you're speaking to 3 founders of businesses that have barely started. So,
babies.
Yeah.
But I think, I get passionate at the fact that why do we set ourselves a limit, right? I always say to people, I could beat Usain Bolt over 100 meters. I massively believe in the power of positive attitude and mentality, and I could beat Usain over 100 meters. I wouldn't be able to do it in a race, but if I had a car, I could beat him over 100 meters. So why do we limit our beliefs that we can't beat Usain Bolt? Just give us the circumstances that we can do something rather than the circumstances is we can't do something. So anyway, you've got me really off track now. This
Very
coffee
good.
is
Well, you
definitely
fired up
hitting
now.
in.
It's good.
I am now. Now comes Wisconsin. No, I'm joking.
No, that's great, and it brings us nicely, Nick, to what your legacy looks like in the world of. I'm not going to say insurtech. In the world of insurance, what does your legacy look like?
God, what a great question. So if I could turn that round, I love to ask people what they want written on their gravestone. I think that's something, if you want to get to know somebody, I think it's a great question to ask people is what do you want written on your gravestone? What do you want to be remembered for? God, what a great question. What is the legacy? I suppose the legacy is, I suppose I'm not gifted and talented, genuinely, but I've worked bloody hard and I listen to what customers say. So I think if we had a customer-centric approach to solutions, and somebody once said, I heard that from Nick Wright, I suppose I'd be quite chuffed and a bit emotional, if I'm brutally honest. And I think the second thing I'd want to say is, don't accept mediocrity. And there's always a better place. There's always something better. I do not fundamentally believe as a person and in my career that I won't say I'm good enough or it's good enough, but I think there's always we can do more to be better. And some of the stuff we talked about today, I get really excited about, because you know what? This ain't a bad industry. Fundamentally, Doug, I think you said it. I think Pat says it actually, which is nothing moves in the world without insurance. What career can you have? What job can you have where people have got to buy it whether they want to or not? All we've got to do is either make it easy to understand it, make it easy to buy it, and make it easy for people to benefit from the policy. If our product becomes irrelevant, we become irrelevant. If our product is relevant, and I go back to it's easy, accessible, and all the rest of it, then we will be really successful. Because I look around at our competitors and go, you know, I haven't got too many to be frightened of.
And their names are?
And their names are, sorry, the internet's just gone down, Dylan.
On that bombshell, we're going to end the show.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much, Nick.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Nick, thank you. This was a really cool conversation. And yeah, look forward to
for sure.
Are you you're in the London area?
Yeah, I am today.
Well, listen. Well, next time I'm in London, it'd be great to grab a pint or dinner or something.
Okay.
Where in the Midlands are you? I make my way up to like Nottingham quite often. Family up there.
Nottingham. There you go. That's an American at Nottingham.
There it is.
Yeah. Here we go. Let's get it. Wisconsin.
What was I was trying to Leicester. Is it Leicester?
Leicester.
Leicester.
Somebody's just like just stop speaking. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's Nottingham. And there was a very famous advert for Tunes. Tell you what, you like YouTube, go on it and look at the Tunes advert when it was I'll have a ticket to Nottingham. So no, I'm sort of more northwest. So Wolverhampton is the nearest city to where I'm from, but I wouldn't be shouting too loudly about that, to be honest. But I'm a Wolverhampton Wanderers fan, a Wolves fan, man and boy. So that means nothing to the US, does it? It means they don't. We play football with the right ball shaped like this.
Football with the feet.
Yeah, we play football with. We don't catch the ball. The goalkeeper does actually, but well, if you're a Wolves goalkeeper, you don't, because we lost to Man City at the weekend. But yeah, so I'm in the middle.
Well, listen,
but, no, I'm in London.
I'm a big Dutch soccer fan, Dutch football fan. So you take all of our best players and you put them in the Premier League, and that's okay. So that's really where my gripe is right now. Well, Nick, when you're in when I'm in London next, Peter as well, Dylan, you should come out sometime to.
Sounds great.
Enjoy it out there. But yeah, we'll have to grab a pint or something. Maybe do some pub trivia. I bet you're a great pub trivia guy.
Oh yeah, I can see that already. Nick, he's going to be good at that.
I tell you, you obviously have not got to know me very well, Doug, in this last hour. This will be edited down. This will be edited down to about a 30-minute pod. Thinking, yeah, you can't say that, Righty. Yeah, you can't say that. Yeah, you definitely can't say that. But I would love to. I'd be happy to buy you the first pint because if you come to London, it'll be about $12. So it's pretty expensive. But then you're New York guys, so to you that's probably nothing.
It's a good deal. Yeah. Cool. Well, hey, Nick, thank you so much for your time. Continued success at Penn. Look forward to watching the journey.
Yeah, and likewise to you guys. It's been, honestly, thank you. It's been a good bit of fun. You do a few of these, and most of them you dread, including this one. But no, that's seriously been good fun. Nice to see you all. And by the way, yeah, first points on me, chaps. All right.
All right. See you later, Nick.
Bye-bye.
Peter, good. You pull in these great guests all the time.
He is hilarious. My goodness.
Guy. Hey, Dylan, I gotta say something. I love your claims soliloquies, but that's the reason these bridesmaids stop watching.
They don't care about surplus lines claim situations. Is that what you're saying?
Declaratory judgment actions, they're not into it.
We gotta sexy it up a bit. See what you can do about it.
Yeah, so while Nick's still listening to us, he's asking if he can leave in the chat. But this is where he can't defend himself. So this is the moment I'm going to let him know that for our American viewers, we're going to have to put some kind of it's not just subtitles; it's more like translation. He's talking about lorries and quid and pence or p. If you're not an American who listens to Top Gear, you have no idea what he's talking about.
I think the big one was cobblers as well, wasn't it? Did anyone pick up what cobblers means? Or?
I just love that we get to see his comments in our chat here, and he can't defend himself. It's great. Anyway, Nick, you can go. We'll stop talking about you. But I do want to say really quickly, not about Nick, but he brought up InsurTech, and I'd love to discuss, Doug, Peter, what do you think about his comment on InsurTech?
There's some fairness in it, mate, to be honest, in my opinion, is that there's so much. I think that the thing with InsurTech is it's gone through phases of shooting itself in the foot through massive overhype, overinvestment, overpromising. So I can sense there is a lot of frustration from people in the traditional space of the industry towards it. I think that's pretty fair, in my opinion. It's hopefully what Doug and I are trying to, part of our small mission, right, is to try and change some of that feeling towards it with what we're trying to deliver. So I think it's pretty fair.
My take on that is that InsurTech has been the vessel that has essentially allowed some of the terrible investments and terrible ideas to come in to insurance. InsurTech is fantastic, and I think I actually think it is a good term. And I also agree with him, though, that in the 80s, if you're bringing computers, the basic desktop computers into the insurance space, that was InsurTech. So I absolutely do believe that was. Yes, kind of that question, but yes. So any application of technology towards insurance is that InsurTech. The problem is when we have 800 AI agent company startups that are in InsurTech, and they're all asking for VC, and many of them are getting it. And these agentic bots are not going, yes, those are going to be, they're going to improve and they're going to change insurance. I do agree with that. Will the 800 do that? No, a couple of them will reign supreme. And if that's what you want to compete for, great. But we're showing the ROI on that for most investors and for most of the founders who are going into it, they're going to lose their time and money. It's almost certainly. And the same thing happened with in the MGA space at the beginning of the InsurTech bubble. There, it was bad money towards terrible MGAs who were not focused on profitability. I think we weed these things out through time, but since they're all within the InsurTech label, and they're getting a bad rap. The term InsurTech gets a bad rap because of it.
Yeah. I would summarize it as a bit of a. Sorry, Darryl, I was just going to say, I would summarize it as a bit of a paradox that the insurance industry constantly says it's a people industry, people make it. But there's also this paradox of trying to strive towards technological advancements. So I think there's always a friction between those two worlds, and it's just never quite found its route to kind of perfection, really.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, Dylan, now that you shit all over InsurTech, I think it's a good time to end.
So speaking of which, Doug Vermalm and InsurTech Association have an ITC discount code right now for.
Wait, I don't know if we can give that out. Just wait, are we having Bill Hiss on the show? Is that coming up?
We are going to have an ITC rep on the show here very shortly, and we will be having our own discount code for our viewers for InsurTech Connect. You know, InsurTech with an E though, so they don't have the same problems as InsurTech without the E.
Wait, is that really how it's ITC is spelled with an E?
Go look it up.
It is.
Sure.
It is. Controversial.
Yes. Yes.
Super interesting. Well, we can give that rep a piece of our mind when they do come on. The ITC though, ITA, InsurTech Association, will be holding an event, happy hour event at ITC. So if anybody wants details on that, I can give that to them.
And what's amazing is that I've signed up, I've already registered, and it says pending approval because I'm clearly not important enough for Doug to check the box.
Well, we have a whole committee that determines whether or not you can get in to that. So,
well, after this conversation, I'm sure I'm out. But
yeah, Dylan, sorry, man.
No Irish pub for me at ITC.
We got to make room for Nick, so we want him in.
Oh yeah,
special guest. He's definitely better than me, so I get it.
Hey guys, this was fun. We got to do this more often. I'm sad we took the whole summer off or most of the summer off, but now we're back in the swing of things. We got some more good guests lined up.
Yeah, we've got a lot of episodes coming out September, October, all the way into ITC and beyond, right?
Do people that watch all of them? There's something like there's a prize or something, right? Like, do we send them an autograph picture of the three of us, something like that?
Well, wasn't it the min of the age of the MGA calendar? Isn't that what they're getting? It's like a signed version of it?
I don't know if that's
an autograph picture of Chris Hemsworth, something like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna call Chris and see what he's up to.
Yeah, get him on the show.
Yeah, see if that ups our numbers a bit. All right,
and
guys.
Doug, is it topical to say why didn't you wear a suit for this episode?
Me?
Yeah.
Was I supposed to?
Isn't that what you're meant to do when you go to formal events in America, is wear a suit?
Is this a formal event? Did I miss the memo?
He's giving you crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we can edit that out.
It's too early. It's so early here. It's like 10:30.
Clearly I haven't watched it.
This is the problem. We're gonna make Peter do like a 6 a.m. show his time.
I love it.
So we're on the top of our game then, Dylan.
All right, now that no one's listening, an hour and 16 minutes in, let's
wrap this up, guys. All right, we'll see you. See everyone next week.
Yeah,
sounds good.